This is the day where we have 80 jerseys that blend into one blue river. One blue river that flows constantly. The end of the river, the empty end of the sea as one. That's how we roll.
Sing it for Serra.
Hooray for us!
Hello, Coach, and welcome to the Serra High School Football Podcast. How are you?
Hello, Amy. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm doing great, thank you.
Got your Johnny Cash look today?
I do, and you're the third person that's told me that, so I'm going to rethink this.
Well,
outfit.
I mean, or Phil Mickelson in golf.
There you go.
That's too. We got to find a female all black comparison. I think maybe next time.
Pretty morbid, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, but.
Well, as we're speaking of clothing, though, you're donning your Ohana sweatshirt, which is great. We've got Poly Day coming up this weekend, and we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Sure.
But first, I'd like to just talk about the game against Archbishop Mitty on Friday night at Foothill College with a final score of 42-0. Can you take us through that game and kind of give us, the game scores and everything?
Yeah. It was. I kind of equated it to a chunky, laggy game. It's like we progressed, we went forward, and we won 42-0. So that's, scoreboard wise, that's very, very positive, obviously. And but it just felt kind of slow, and the offense went 3 for 4, but we did not get the our 12% rule, which is kind of talks about the penalties, drop passes, fumbles, these sort of things, just kind of the efficiency of the offense. And we scored our worst grade of the year, and we scored at 20% in that. And we've been at 12 or under 5 of our 6 games.
Wow.
And this one we jumped to 20%, and it was very clear and evident that something's off. And our mental energy offensively was off. Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's why it felt laggy. It felt, like when you're on the internet, just like, or you're watching YouTube TV now, which is the new thing. Like come on, what is this? Just go.
Right.
It just felt like that offensively.
Do you feel like do you have any maybe reasoning as to support why?
Maybe making assumptions, maybe doing football math, maybe ego management, maybe I didn't get the team prepared. Maybe it's a reflection of me. Everything's a reflection of the head coach. And, I need to do a better job of making sure that doesn't happen. And the good news is as we measure ourselves in the grades, where we didn't stumble was in turnovers. So if you're laggy in turnovers and you have 5 or 6 turnovers, you lose the game. So I'm very, very happy that we are continuing to protect the football.
Right. Because
at the end of the day, if you are, let's say you're just not, the minds just aren't there. We had 4 drop passes. I don't think we had 4 drop passes all year.
Right.
Okay. You had 4 in one game. We had 6 penalties. We've never had 6 penalties in a game. And 4 of them were false starts, just jumping.
Right.
It's okay, so that's just a mental thing. I mean, it's clear. And that's why we measure it this way. So we can go back and address the mental energy that it takes to achieve at the highest level. It's a lot, and to expect that, we expect that week after week after week after week. And that's why we go through the trouble of actually measuring all this stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the way it felt. It felt that way in the stands. We had a turnover on special teams. We're about to get the ball. We had a turnover on special teams. That should not happen. Mm-hmm. But it does. Now the ball's not going back to the offense. The ball's going back to their offense. So the defense is back on the field. So there was a turnover there. We had a blocked field goal, which led to us not, having a drive that was, you got to a certain point and had some penalties. And now we had to kick a field goal, then it gets blocked. It just feels weird. And that block field goal is my fault. I lost my own attention to detail to an area of the game that forced some alignment issues that we had. And that's on me. I mean, I got to do a better job of there's a lot that goes into being a head coach, and attention to detail in all phases of the game will always be on display every single night. You see how Miami lost to Georgia Tech. You take a knee. Right. I don't know if you guys saw that, but if you just take a knee, you win the game. You win a college football game. And they chose to run it. They turned the ball over. 2 plays later, Georgia Tech wins in just amazing fashion. So there's issues at that level. That I would call that a catastrophic issue. Mm-hmm. There's minor issues that are like death by 1,000 cuts, which it kind of felt that way, but we didn't die. We still won the game 42-0. but the feeling of it wasn't the way we wanted it to feel in that phase of the game, and clearly in that one goal area. Okay, on the flip side of it, our defense was 4 for 4. They were lights out.
Right.
Lights out. I mean, we had 11 TFLs.
Again.
Like,
lights out again.
Again.
Doing great.
I mean, we had 11 TFLs. The quarterback was 4 of 22 for 60 yards passing.
Wow.
Like it was like a one passer rating. Like the defense showed up, and the defense shows up in high school football, college football, NFL football. You have a chance. You have a chance in every single game, and thankfully, they gave us repeated opportunities. They being the defense gives us repeated opportunities to get the ball back to, and then all of a sudden we kind of clean our stuff up. And Jaden Green's running hard, getting downhill. I thought he had a great game.
He really had a great game.
Running with power, running with speed, and just kind of getting that thing going. Chris Yoon had a great play on special teams, which was beneficial for us. A fake punt. So he got the ball and had a great run. Made it. I don't know if it would have worked without his effort. And there's things like that are celebrated. There's a lot of things to celebrate, to be honest with you. We were 9 of 12 overall. We went 9 of 12 in our goals, which is 75%. And when that happens, the good things happen.
Right.
So we weren't under the standard.
I was just going to say we've kept it at.
We're at the standard, and on the season we're achieving at 79%. There's a lot of things to celebrate. With that said, we are, I wouldn't call us perfectionists. I think that's an unfair way to go through life. No one's perfect, but there's a certain level of mental perfection that we fell short of, which is my fault, that needs to be corrected going into the Bellarmine game. So that's my overall feeling on how I felt about the Mitty game.
Can you tell me what your halftime talk was?
It really didn't, there was nothing magical or... there's nowhere to go, so we're outside, or it was just weird. Kind of meandering around like cattle in the end zone. There's no like place to talk to the team. So I basically just pulled him up and said, we're not living up to our standard. It was 21-0. But this is not how we want to do our business. And I thought the second half was much better, I thought.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And what do you think? I mean, in terms of going into this week, I mean, whatever, like from that game, what are some takeaways that you're going to be employing this week in practice?
Well, if you mess with fire, you might get burnt. That's the message. And I don't think there's enough time. I don't think there's enough time in the season, time left. I don't think there's enough opportunities to even go down that road. Like, why do we want to do that? And in 4 weeks or, less than 4 weeks now, the 10-game season's over. And you mess with fire in the playoffs, it's done. And then what? You're like, oh, I wish I would have done this. Now you're living a life of regret. I don't want any regrets. Right. Regrets are awful. If you put in max effort, max mental energy, and you pour your heart and soul into an endeavor, and it doesn't go your way, you can live with that, right? And I'm not going to tolerate that. I'm fearful, I don't like using that word, but I am fearful of regret. Therefore, because of that, it's like, well, let's just live this moment the best it can be right now. So I look back, like, it didn't go our way. That's going to happen. This is human. We're humans. There's going to be pain. There's going to be suffering. And when that happens, you look back and say, well, that's just God's will. And I can live with it. But just kind of that game, it didn't feel the way we expect, as Serra, and again, the scoreboard's the biggest liar of all time. And I'm never it's hard to win a football game. Coach Mon says it best. He's like, look at all the things you got to do to be a successful program. You just look at the sideline with the TVs and Kevin Newman and Ted Cordery dragging their poles around with Steve Leary and it's just so much organization. You got to have buses coming down. The buses got to be on time. The buses got to be directed to the right location. The PAT field goal team needs to be coached properly. We have to scout and make sure we know about the other team and what they're doing. There's just so much that goes into it. So I don't want this to be lost in the fact that we won the game 42-0.
Huge win.
It is. And it's hard to win a game. And we have a 24-hour rule around here, and we celebrate. Like I sent a message to the coaches on our WhatsApp thread, guys, great job. Enjoy it. and then learn, and then let's get better for Bellarmine.
Definitely. And that's exactly why I asked these questions, because I know people want to know, your insight as to, just in reflection. So that was kind of why I asked that question.
Yeah, well, it's a good one. I mean, there's a lot of introspection when it comes into it, but I've also been around long enough to know that I've felt really disgusted in wins, and then I regretted that when we lost. I'm like, wait, I wish I would have owned it. I wish I would have owned the win better, because now I'm in real pain.
Totally.
Right. So there's a lot of different ways to navigate the season from an emotional perspective. You can't really get too high, can't get too low, because right up now is, it's Polynesian Day week, and we got the Bells coming to town, Prune Rally, all the fun stuff that happens around here. So
right.
It's a great tradition. I love this. I love Bellarmine week every week.
Awesome. And we're gonna get to that, but we have to talk about another win that your football team has seen this week.
Yeah.
And it was not on the field, but rather in the classroom. So if you would like to make the announcement, I'm so proud of our student athletes. Yes,
I'm proud of the school. I'm proud of our faculty. I'm proud of the staff. I'm proud of campus ministry. I'm proud of everything we do around here. And there is a scoreboard, and there is a scoreboard for academics, and that's your GPA.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very black and white, if you will. Like, you're doing good, you're not doing good. And I'm sure there's internal scoreboards that Kevin Carey has in AP history, but realistically, you're either getting good grades or bad grades. There's kind of no way around that. And last year, our team GPA at this point was a 3.47. which is an absolutely astronomical thing for 80 football players.
Absolutely.
Okay. And the concept of one of my favorite movies of all time is Revenge of the Nerds. It's the funniest, most classic movie of all time. And it just plays into the stereotype that football players are dumb. And, whatever. But, and I think last year's team absolutely smashed that concept that there are dumb football players.
The dumb jock theory.
Theory. And there's a bunch of idiots at Serra that don't care about their future. And, we wake up in the morning and we go to training table, and then we lift, and then we watch film, and then we go to football practice. And what about school? Like, no, we actually do football a little bit after school.
Right.
I mean, if you think about the time, and right. I'm so excited. I'm like glowing, because when it comes to this area, I will brag until the day I die. I will brag. I will look anyone in the eye and say, beat this. Okay. 80 kids this year, 80 kids. Our cumulative team GPA is 3.60.
That's amazing.
What?
Amazing.
And when Matt Vignal was doing he did it by position groups. And when I announced it to the team, I said, here's what this position group's got. Here's what the offense has. Here's what the defense has. And
you shared that with me. It was awesome.
It was
I loved
awesome.
Going through and seeing, these boys are really
That's
crushing
right.
it.
That's right. And now it's competitive. Like, I got to do a little bit better here, and I can maybe help the linebacker group get a little bit better. It was really cool. And that was the first time we've ever done that. I think that was a testament to Coach Vignal and having him go through the grades that way. Putting the time into it allowed me to present it in a totally different fashion. So now it's, when I announced that the offense had the defense had a 3.57, and then I'm like, but the offense had a 3.68 or whatever.
So cool.
And the offense was like, yeah, like all fired up. I thought that was really, really cool. It was a good moment in Serra history there. But then I told the team that we had a cumulative GPA of 3.6. We have, I think 16 players at a 4.0 or higher.
That's right.
We have two individuals, and I don't feel comfortable mentioning, maybe I'll get clearance to say it, but we have two students who have a 4.83 GPA.
It's incredible.
What is this? And I'm like, I went up to him, I'm like, what's up with the 5.0, man? I'm a little disappointed.
Yeah, right.
You're failing a little bit. They're like, Coach, it's not possible. There's not enough APs to get a 5.0, or maybe you should take some more APs.
Right.
Totally kidding with them. But it's absolutely fantastic, and I'm very, very proud. That is, you want to talk about a communal effort from what I would call the front of the school, which is the academic area, and then the back of the school, which is where we do our athletics and the parents and the counselors, and 3.6 GPA from a football program. I mean, honestly, I'd put that up with anything in the country.
It's awesome.
And then we have over 250 kids who play football here. not one student is under a 2.0. That's
incredible.
a first. That's a first. Not one. And if I did, we don't necessarily, we could maybe do it and it's a good idea, but what did the freshman team, what did this JV team, what does the varsity team have? And then add all 250 kids together. It's an impressive feat.
It really is. And the fact that it's something that you're celebrating and focusing on. And I mean, it really kind of goes, it's a long season. I mean, you start practicing for football, well, in like early on in the school year.
Yeah.
And it's grueling, right? It's a 6-day-a-week, commitment and many, many hours. So to find the time to carve away and achieve such high marks in the classroom is really impressive. So I'm proud of all those Padres. I really am. That's a huge deal.
Yeah. Thank you. I am too. And it's only 6 weeks in, so we have multiple grading periods. So,
but this was the first one. I mean, they just closed the books on these. So, I mean, that's amazing. And one thing you always say is, no matter what these boys, how they perform on the field, the first question a scout asks is, how are your grades?
100%.
Right? And so to have, that's a really important factor in playing in the next level.
Yeah, it is. And we talk a ton about collegiate recruiting on this and
we do.
And the concept of it. And, most of these kids will not be going to play college football. I mean, there's the statistics are there where most, if not the biggest majority of our students will be contributing well beyond in the society, off the football field. And having a collective consciousness of the fact that area of the school is extremely important to us. So we can have these moments. I was not anticipating this. 3.6, I didn't think.
Really high.
Yeah, it's ridiculous actually. I mean, honestly, it's I can't brag enough about it. And I would, if we had a quiz off or if we didn't play football, I would take
academic
this,
decathlon or something.
Right, against, we're doing Bellarmine. Let's go. Bellarmine football team versus Serra football team in a quiz kids
minds.
or something. I would put this team up there against anyone in the country. Let's go.
That's awesome. So. And as you said, you mentioned right when you introduced it, it's a huge testament to our faculty who, prepare these, young men to really achieve, high and to learn and develop a love of learning too. So,
yeah. And then we talk about like the brotherhood and the sisterhood and the Ohana. It isn't just a football thing. And as Willie's off at Pepperdine now and he's thinking back on his days, being at Serra, I mean, he was on the golf team, but from 8:15 to 3, you're in the classrooms.
Right.
You're bonding with your teachers and, you got Mr. T and you got Rick Bozen and all these wonderful teachers that and Meg Flynn and
sure.
Just these are the stories that the teachers impact these kids' lives as much as and or more at times than the football coaches. Right. So I think there's a lot of schools that aren't connected. And there's a disconnect between what happens in their front of the school and in the back of the school. And I don't think we have that problem here. There might be times where it's perceived to be that way from some people, but these are the opportunities where the scoreboard says otherwise. You can say whatever you want to say about what the perception is of a Serra football program when it comes to where our priorities are, but I'll just show you the grades and it's a 3.6 GPA as a team. So that just kind of bye-bye. Whatever person is thinking that and saying all they care about is sports and they're a jock school. And yeah, you know what? We are a jock school. We are. But our athletes also go to class, just like Stanford. So whatever, you can call us whatever you want. At the end of the day, we have extremely high-achieving students that roam this campus and extremely high-achieving students that come out here for 3 hours, they run, they lift, they watch film, and they can also achieve in the classroom. I think it's fantastic.
It's great. It is a both and, like you said. I mean, if you put the work into both areas, then you're going to be a fantastic student athlete. So great job. And hats off to Vignal for taking the time to chug those numbers.
Thank you,
Also
Maddie.
a Serra Padre. So that's a very nice spreadsheet.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, so this is a big week. I mean, the Bellarmine game is always so exciting for everyone. Like you said, we had the prune rally and you've got just a huge history with Bellarmine. Can you kind of, for those that don't know, can you kind of tell us a little bit about the relationship between the two teams?
Absolutely. We're the last two all boys schools standing in the West Catholic Athletic League. So that's always been the thing, just the two all boys schools. And this is a historic game. And the history dates back, well beyond you and I and everyone else probably listening, but maybe not everyone listening, but There was a time where Serra, again, this is before me, just could not beat Bellarmine. And this is when they were literally built on a prune farm.
Right. Hence the prune rally. That we're going to exercise the demons of the Bellarmine Bells. And my best friend's dad, way back in the day in the 60s, Rick Bianchina, threw a pass to Jack Coyne in the 60s. And I know this because Brent Bianchina is my best friend, and his dad, Rick, sadly passed away a couple years ago. But it was in lore, Padre lore, of one of the first times Serra ever beat Bellarmine, right? And then that just traditions carried on. And there was a time where I think when I first got here, I'm like, what is this Bellarmine thing? We beat him like 5 straight times. This is easy. The night game, the first game in 2001, we hit Chris Denny Brown on a 91-yard slant route. Oh, my God.
And he goes to the house. We beat Bellarmine, and we're 6-0 at this point. It's like, yes, we're about to win 151 games in a row like De La Salle. This is the easiest thing ever. And then we lost 4 in a row after that. But that was our first league game.
Ego is the enemy.
Yeah. I was like, this is easy, this coaching thing. I got this all figured out. We're 6-0. We're cats meow. I'm down at the Elks having a celebration. We win the night game. We beat Bellarmine on a 91-yard slant route. And we continued that for, I think, 5 straight times. And then there was a 6-7 year drought where we just could not beat Bellarmine.
Really? Okay.
We just could not beat them. It had to have been, it started like 05, 06, 07, 08, 2009, 2010. I was like, oh my God. All the way through 2012, where we lost them twice in the same year.
Oh gosh.
And we lost to them twice on the 1 yard line.
That's brutal.
And that was an inflection point in Serra football for me. I realized that I had to make some personal changes if I wanted the program to be better. My sister, I was complaining about all sorts of things, and my sister said, and I go, we just don't have it. We don't have it. And she goes, do you have it? I went, oh man, I don't think I do. Damn it. So
sisters are really smart.
Yeah, my sister, Amanda Pua Walsh, she lives in Maui. I was like, do you have it? I'm like, actually, no, I don't. I'm not doing this well. And it was a big inflection point, and it started me thinking like the program can and is a true reflection of the coach. Good, bad, indifferent, small moments, big moments. And I was like, I need to be better. I need to be a better human. And there are also things we need to do better on the field. Mm-hmm. And I don't need to give you the whole history of Serra Bellarmine, but this is just kind of like an inflection point. In 2013, our program changed. We brought in 2 new coordinators, and the way it looked changed. The offense changed. Our defense changed. I changed. Obviously the players rolled through, and we won our first Open Division championship in 2013.
Wow.
So people that have think about Serra in the last 10 years, that's all they know. But there was a decade before that where it was like we couldn't win like that big games, and really struggled. I remember there was a comment like, we love Coach Walsh, but he can't win the big game. He can't win it. And I remember that comment came to me, and it hit me, and I'm like, man, that person's kind of right. Damn it. So it's like, but it's, and then taking all that, making it not about me and about the kids and about the team and all the things that we need to do. It's all because of Bellarmine.
Wow.
For me, it's all because of the Bells. And and Coach Mike Janda and John Emerius, they were the figureheads for 30 years there. And I had so much respect for those guys. And this is always a respectful rivalry, a respectful game. And so we're excited about bringing that here to West 20th Avenue on Saturday.
Love it. And what can you tell me about the team today? I'm sure you've probably watched a few games.
Yeah.
What do you think of the team? They have
a new coach, David Diaz-Infante, who's a Bellarmine Bell. And he's taking the program, and he's infusing his, this is a Super Bowl champion, an NFL football coach who's coming back to his school to impart his, basically his flavor of Bell football. And they're tough. They're a tough team, but they're not winning on the scoreboard.
I see.
They have a great quarterback, number 3. The offense goes through him. He's a fantastic athlete. He had 2 80-yard runs against SI. Wow. He's a fantastic player. And they're in that, I remember me in year 1, and David's a smart guy. These guys play tough. They play hard. They play physical. They lost a game 31-30 to SI. It was a fantastic football game. They lost last week 55, I think 41. They're scoring points.
Right.
So this is going to be a great challenge for us. And again, that kind of, you want to go mess around with fire and, do football math. Here we go.
Yep.
You do not sleep on the Bellarmine Bells ever. Not at any time, any place, anywhere. Historically speaking, sometimes the little kid that pokes his finger in the like, oh, don't touch that, don't touch. Hopefully we don't get shocked, but if it happens, then it's a blessing. It is what it is. So very, very excited about this game. I'm excited to coach against David. We've gotten to know each other over this last year, and he's a fiery guy, and I can see the reflection of his team building.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. It's good to hear. Wonderful. Well, it's going to be a great game. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what people can expect this Saturday in terms of Poly Day? I know we've mentioned it in a couple of podcasts, and it is a tradition here at Serra High School, but there's a lot of excitement going on about that.
Yeah, so back in, I think, 01 or 02, we had two families, the Savello family and the Totola family. And they were in our program. They kind of came in with their oldest sons, and they were in the program for like 12 years. They just... There wasn't a time where there either wasn't a Savello, a Totola, or a Tui Pelotu for like my first 13 years coaching here at Serra.
Awesome.
And so they came up to me, and I'd like to say this is my idea, this great idea to do this Polynesian Day celebration. They said, "Hey, Coach, what if we did like a Polynesian celebration at a game?" I'm like, "Man, that sounds pretty cool. I'm following your lead." And now here we are.
Awesome.
Well over 20 years later. It's a great tradition for us. It's obviously we have a lot of players of Polynesian descent, and as I got to know the culture of the Polynesian family, Polynesian families, it is 100% family first. And I've always, I got married in Hawaii. My sister lives in Hawaii. I've always had a strong connection with the ocean, with surfing, with the islands. I went to American Samoa one year and stayed with one of our families, and it's just there's such a rich culture to celebrate because the values that are rooted in the Polynesian culture is rooted in ohana, in family first, love, very faithful people. And so I'm like, sure, let's pick a day, let's pick a game, let's celebrate this once a year where we can truly celebrate the heritage of our Polynesian families. That's the history of it. And so we're it's passed along to current families, and we're ready to roll this Saturday. And obviously the food.
I was just going to
say Polynesians are also known for food. You go to a Polynesian barbecue, you can't help but leaving without 17 boxes of
yes.
food, and so
generous.
They're very generous. There's going to be great food here this weekend as well. So it's let's keep it rolling. Dancing.
I was just going to say, so then at halftime we'll have the freshmen doing the haka dance, which is always a great tradition. And I had the privilege of talking with Timo and Colin. Timo's Samoan and Colin is Tongan, and they were telling us just for we were doing some promos for Poly Day, and it was really interesting just to hear like just the way that their families just celebrate food and family and faith. And I mean, it's just, it's really cool. And I know that they are very happy that the Serra community embraces this tradition. So it's a really cool thing.
Yeah, it's cool. You get the palm fronds up and the Polynesian flags flying around the stadium. It's really cool. I've always enjoyed it. So we'll keep the tradition alive Saturday.
Exactly. All are welcome. So come on down to Serra High School. So awesome. Well, thank you. I'm excited. The Freshies play on Thursday, and then we will play Saturday, and JV plays before us. And go Padres.
Go Padres.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.